go. All right. Well, welcome everyone to From Plastic to Personal, a community discussion on our reflections of the Barbie movie. I'm really excited about this. I'm Jessie Jacob. I am our Senior Community Engagement Manager here at Culture Amp, running our Global Chapters program. So this is a global chapter event, but we now have over 100 global chapters around the world. And we have folks hosting, we have many of our chapter leads here today, actually, and they host discussions around the future of work, topics relating to future of work, meaning DE&I or mental health, return to the office, continuous improvement, employee engagement, you name it, we're talking about it. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to have just like an open forum. We'll have a few moment for a few folks to share a few moments about their reflections from the Barbie movie, and then we'll open it up to everyone to have a discussion. So think of this as like a book club, but for the Barbie movie. So what is the Culture First community? Well, community at Culture Amp is where global people leaders and change agents come together to be inspired by their peers, to ideate and to share best practices to create a better world of work. Community lives in a lot of different areas at Culture Amp. Today, this is obviously our Global Chapters program, but Culture First Global is back, our free virtual conference on November 1st and November 2nd, depending on which region you are in. But like I said, free virtual conference, a lot of great speakers, a lot of great content if you aren't already registered for that. Community also lives in our digital communities with our People Geek Slack community with over 20,000 people in there sharing ideas and resources and jobs. A lot of great community conversations happening there. We have a Culture First podcast. We have a newsletter called The Geekly with tons of our research and amazing articles if you're not subscribed to that. So who are we? We are a group of people around the world united in the shared belief that a better world of work is possible. And by golly, we're willing to do something about it. We are all about unlocking humanity at work through creating inspiring experiences and purposeful connections. And we have 5 core principles. This is the glue with which we are held together globally. So this is how we ask you all to show up today. So we are asking that you foster belonging and acceptance. We are all about creating environments where individuals feel like they can come and feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated for just being themselves. So we have a lot of folks from various backgrounds and ways of living. So we ask that you approach that with curiosity rather than judgment and acceptance. We are all about being willing to reflect and grow. If we're on a mission to transform the future of work, that actually goes back to our organizations, but that starts with us being the change we want to see in the world. So being willing to turn the mirror around and say, how am I showing up? What can I do to make the world of work better? The third's the courage to be vulnerable. This side, any of those Brene Brown fans out there, this idea that we're constantly wearing masks all the time, and that, you know, if we are allowed to like let down our guard, take some of those masks off, we're all just human beings underneath all of it. So if we're able to do that, it gives other people a chance to also be vulnerable as well. So we can create more trust and psychological safety with one another. The 4th core principle is putting learning into action. We don't want you to just consume information and go in one ear and out the other. We want you to feel like you're actually applying the things that you're learning and putting them into action into your day-to-day work. And then connection inside, business outside, a fancy way of saying that in the context and the container of this chapter gathering today, we're here to connect as humans first. If that leads to us doing business later, that's cool. But this isn't just like another networking business event. This is a chance for us to like get to know each other and do the work. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Want to open it up. I want to hear, like, if you had to describe one word for how you felt leaving the Barbie movie, I want you to put that one word in the chat, but don't press enter yet. So one word to describe how you felt leaving the Barbie movie. Some people loved it. Some people were like, ugh, whatever it is. Want to hear. And then when you have it in the chat, give me a thumbs up. Great. If you haven't seen it, that's awesome too. I'm glad you're here for this discussion. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait to hear your take on the movie after this discussion. All right, give me a thumbs up when you have your one word in the chat, and then we're all going to press enter at the same time. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, enter. Thoughtful, surprise, reflecting, disturbed. Ooh, can't wait to hear from you. Haven't seen it, but want to. Disappoint. Oh, this is so good. Seen, joyful. Thank you for sharing. Sleepy. Okay, nostalgic. Yes, I feel that, Mary. All right. Thank you. All right, before we get into, so you're going to hear a few voices from community members and about just their general takeaways and how the Barbie movie relates to the way that we work. But before I do, I wanted to just share like a quick monologue from the movie. So if you have seen it, essentially America Ferrera's character has like this a minute and 30-second monologue about the way that she thinks about the world. And I just want to play that to kind of help prime this conversation a little bit. And then I will hand it off to our community members who I'm going to give them some time to share their reflections. And then we'll open it up to everyone to kind of continue this conversation. I'm also going to pause the recording just for copyright reasons with this video clip. Okay, so I'm going to hand it off to Natalia, who she's going to start us off with her like reflections. Again, I want us to honor our community principle of fostering belonging and acceptance, approaching this conversation with curiosity. I know for some folks, they were like, yes, I loved the core messages of this movie. And like, this is how it applies to the way that we work. And also I want to acknowledge that there are some people who felt really disturbed and disgusted and felt like there were political undertones and it made them very uncomfortable. And I want to honor that perspective too. And I want to be able to approach this conversation with curiosity. So with that, I'm going to hand it to Natalia. This was her brainchild, so I'm really excited. She runs our Culture First Geneva chapter. I'll let her introduce herself. Natalia, I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes, but please introduce yourself, share your core takeaways from the Barbie movie and how this relates, or how you feel like this relates to how we show up at work and the future of work.
Hi, everyone. Before I start, maybe just one moment of silence to give space to whatever resonated in you when we were watching that clip. And it will be different things, and just to give space to that in whatever way is available to you. So Jessie mentioned I'm Geneva chapter lead of Culture First. And I like to call myself a trauma geek, but not like in the heavy sense, but I like to bring light and empowerment into this work. And for me, when I watched this movie, it was maybe because of my perspective, it was about the systemic trauma. You know, the trauma that stems from the systems of power and oppression in the society. And they can be based on all sorts of things, religion, the color of your skin, your gender. And in this case, it was, for me, the systemic trauma stemming from the system of power and oppression based on gender. And at the core of my work is trauma sensitivity approach, which I see as part of sustainability in a bigger sense. And what I mean by that, especially in relation to systemic trauma, it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years to form conditioning that we all carry in our bodies, in our veins, in our bone marrow. We're all part of that fabric, irrespective of our intentions, of our particular place. And if we call about the system of power and oppression, there will be two sides in there, in the systemic trauma. And so it takes a lot of time to form that conditioning. And when we try to approach it, things like, for example, and they play really, I think they make a good job at, poking at that. When, for example, Ken says, I'm a liberated man, I know it's okay to cry. So, like, there is greenwashing, there is also people washing, and there is also a bit of that washing as well. So is he really a liberated man when he addresses that liberation? He packages it in those words. And so for me, anything that addresses whatever we want to change in that conditioning without taking into consideration what it really feels to carry it as a human being and how it translates in everyday situations. And very often, the traumatic conditioning, it overrides the heart's intention, the intention that we might have in our brain. For example, from tomorrow, I want to be more assertive. And then when we try that, for many people, the entire body goes on fire. These are the hundreds of years of conditioning. And so for me, without the trauma-sensitive approach that takes into consideration what it really means, all of these slogans or, transformational, motivational things that might be not entirely accessible for some people, not effective or even counterproductive or even unsafe. So this is what, for me, is trauma sensitivity. And especially when it comes to systemic trauma, I always believe that it takes two to tango. It takes both sides. Both sides suffer in their own way. And we need to bring both sides to the table if we want to unpack sustainably the conditioning created by the systemic trauma. And so this brings me to the point that I am very grateful and I am very proud to be part of this space. And I am very happy to see so many people here today. And I feel blessed to have this opportunity to have an authentic and real talk about the real things and to be part of a space like that, Culture First. One of the pillars is vulnerability and psychological safety. And that would be, Jessie, is that my 3 minutes are up?
That was great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Natalia. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for also bringing this conversation to the community. This is super rich. Thank you. All right, I'm going to hand it over to someone else, one of our other speakers, whoever feels called to go next. Carmen, Snia, Chris, Barb, Craig, whoever feels called to kind of take your 3 minutes next, would love to give you the space to do it.
I can continue.
All right.
When I used to live, when I saw the movie, after that I realized that I used to that I actually did the process the other way around. I used to live in Argentina where I grew up. I was born and grew up. And that was reality. And then I traveled to Europe and I arrived in Berlin. And there I discovered Barbie Land. Berlin was like Barbie Land. It was a place where women could walk on the street at night, safe, where a group of people, where what I was saying in a group of people with men and women was really worth hearing. And I realized that women could have another position in groups, on the street, in reality. It's been 30 years since I first came to Berlin. Well, now I'm not in Berlin, but when I came the first time to Europe, and I realized that I was not really in Barbie land. I discovered also the reality in Berlin. But what I want to say with this is that perspective is the first thing that I would invite someone to watch when you watch this movie for the first time or for the second time or for the third time. Perspective, because if we are gathering today, all of us, we all, the group that is here today is this group, or these people imply that we have seen Barbie and we have seen most of us, and in this movie we've seen more than a movie that is putting women against men. We have this impression, but I'm talking about this because there are lots of people that saw the movie and saw it's a movie about women against men. And we have, like Jessie said before, we have to respect these layers of understanding, of perceiving. And the director of the movie, she said that she wanted to have the whole movie with at least 2 different layers, at least. I'm convinced that in this movie we can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and discover in infinite layers. But my main reflection on this, I would like to invite you to go to, is the end. The end, the phrase of Barbie that decides to get out of plastic and become a woman. And she says with a smile like this, I'm going to visit my gynecologist. That's the end of the Barbie movie. She's going to learn about the power of her body, which is not outside. It's inside. It's her matrix, is her uterus, is the source of every woman and of the creativity and of everything that can come to life. So that's what I'm running the workshop in the global chapter also about the power of the female body in the workplace. So it's an invitation to connect with the power of our female body from inside. That's my 3 cents.
Thank you, Carmen. And I'm also glad you mentioned about the workshop you run. So if anyone's interested in that, there's a whole workshop on understanding the power of the female body in the workplace through the Culturist community. But thank you, Carmen. All right, handing it off to whoever feels called to go next. Craig, Chris, Barb, Snia.
I'll share.
All right, Chris.
Thanks, Carmen. I just put in the chat that I hadn't really thought about that reflection that you shared from the ending of the movie until you just said that, which is really powerful. I don't have a ton of opinions about whether the movie's good or bad, and I don't necessarily think that's as helpful as like just the conversation we're having now. But what it's prompted me to think about is the idea of masculinity and femininity and how that shows up in our day-to-day interactions. And I guess to share some context, for me personally, I grew up in a male-dominated household. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. I played sports all growing up. My older brothers, were fought all the time. There's just a lot of masculine male energy around me growing up. And when I went to college and kind of had my own self-discovery journey and coming out process, came out as gay, my whole idea of masculinity and femininity and what it meant to be a man was really confused. And I had grown up thinking that you know, there's I had all these misconceptions and sort of conflated ideas around sexuality and masculinity and femininity and how those kind of worked together. So it's something I've been reflecting on a lot after this movie and thinking about, you know, as a man, as a gay man, where does masculinity and femininity fit into that? And what I notice at work, even simple things like people using the love reaction on LinkedIn feels like a very feminine thing. And I notice men, I notice certain men don't ever heart things, and certain men do heart things. And what does that say about my masculinity or femininity? And it's just really interesting to see how for me personally, the intersection of sexuality and masculinity and femininity show up and how that manifests itself at work. And it's something I continue to struggle with and think about because I struggled for a long time with my sexuality and what that meant for me as a man. And so I would be really conscious about things that I did or said that were more feminine, because I didn't want people to think certain things about me. And so this movie to me was like just really good permission to just be expressive and share who you are. And my wish for anyone is to not worry about black and white thinking or binary thinking, and to just express who they are. And we need more of that in the workplace. So I'll stop there.
Yes, thank you, Chris. We had some comments in the chat about I didn't think about the emoji usage. Yeah, that's so interesting. Thank you. Also, Chris runs our Cultureverse Tampa chapter for anyone who wants to spend more time learning and geeking out with Chris. All right, handing it off to Snia, Barb, Craig. Anyone feel called to go?
Barb had a hand up before, so let's Barb go, then I'm happy to go next.
Okay.
Awesome, thanks. So I will say that I had no interest in seeing the movie. Growing up a Barb, I never wanted to be called Barbie. It was a real thing for me. That was, as I played with Barbies when I was to a certain age, just like she said in the movie. And then it was like, no, I'm stronger than that. I'm not just pretty, I'm more than that. And I really got away from Barbie. And I didn't know what the movie was, is why I really didn't want to see it. And my nieces, who were 10 and 13, went and saw it. And when I asked them, they did not like it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then my 54-year-old friend said, it's amazing. And I was like, okay, wait, it must be about something different than I thought. And so I went and I saw it, and I just felt really moved by the whole thing. And the word I put in the chat was heard. And for me, I've spent my entire career in the construction industry. And so male dominated for absolute sure. And, they show that short clip at the beginning of she walks by the job site, and it's all women using the jackhammers and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. I love the idea of it. But at the same time, my role in this world right now is helping to increase the success of women in male-dominated fields. And I feel strongly that we need the diversity. I think companies that are all women are lacking what they need to really be successful, just like companies with all men. We've got to have that diversity. And so even though seeing that, yes, it's novelty and I love that idea, but I know it's not where we get the best for any of our companies if we don't have that diversity. So for me, I think I've watched it twice now. And the first time was really just to see what is it all about. And I remember I felt the most moved at the very end. And I'll talk about that in a second. But watching it a second time and really looking for things that people had told me to look for, or even trying to see like, what are the hidden messages that I missed? And the best hidden message that I felt like I missed the first time and saw the second was the jumping over the barriers. And when they were chasing Barbie out of the building and the turnstiles there, and she just jumped over it. And all of those white men were just kept hitting it like, how do we get out? How do we get through this barrier? And it was just a simple walk through. But the idea, the representation that they tend to not have the experience of having to get through and jump over them. And I didn't catch that until the second time. But I think what was most impactful for me was I love the ending where they said neither world is the right world. And I don't know that those are the words that they used, but not Barbie land and not our land. And they said no Barbie or Ken should be living in the shadows. And I loved that, because I think that's really what it was all about, was to bring awareness to these are the challenges women are facing, and neither world is the right world.
Thank you, Barb. Oh, so awesome. I also love that I met Barb last week at Disrupt HR, and now she's like in the community and like sharing her point of view and perspective. But as soon as I saw her talk, I was like, please, will you come share your perspective and point of view with our community? I think this would be awesome. So thank you. I'm glad you're here. It's come full circle. Welcome to the Culture First community. But I also didn't think about the jumping over the like the turnkey things. That's funny. All right, Craig, handing it to you.
Yeah. Well, first, before I start, I want to apologize. I think this was I apologize. Somehow this slipped and wasn't on my calendar, so it kind of rolled in here. But before I get started, I just want to share courage to be vulnerable. You know, sometimes in life, when the things we want most, things I want most, sometimes I'll avoid. And like, I'm coming and showing up and being like, oh, community connection, while at the same time starting a business and all these things, I'm overwhelmed and avoiding some of those things. So thank you for just the mirror and reflection and just showing up here and being like, oh yeah, this is what I'm missing. And how I'm in my own head, have this game where I'm like avoiding things, and you know, I don't have time for that. So I just appreciate that. The other thing about just showing up, I'd been thinking about this a lot, but I'd forgotten, and then it was today. So I literally just wrote down. So what you're going to get are the four or whatever that came top of mind to me. So let's start, and I'll share. First, I want to share a little bit about me. I grew up a middle boy of three boys, all boys. So I think it's first fair to say Barbie was kind of, part of the world, but I didn't internalize it in any sort of deep way. I didn't think a lot about it. I also didn't play with G.I. Joes either. I wasn't much of a, that wasn't my thing. But what happened was, you know, in my life, you know, meeting my wife and her family, like very strong women. And I now have two daughters, which will come into this, but I think I learned more about Barbie and thought about it more critically over the years, and just hearing comments and things, and kind of like, we'll never get those for our daughters. And so my first takeaway was I was really impressed with what women, what I heard, what I think many women would have said about Barbie 10 years ago, and where that image had gone and what they did with this. And I think that's a really important lesson to so many. We're dealing with anti-racism and trying to change behaviors and thoughts, that Mattel could have avoided this. And I'm just so appreciative. Not only if I can put it all into words, how they went head into it. I mean, they made fun of their own executives. I read something about that, and that they signed off on all that, you know? And so I was just sort of kind of in awe, sitting back on, look at the success, this thing, how they were able to transform this image and this brand that really had been so diminished. So there's something there. My next takeaway, so I went with my two daughters and my wife, and I'm going to lean into the things that were an aha for me. So we walked out of the theater, we're having these conversations, and what was amazing was what they were talking about. And my reflection was, I was struggling to kind of put together the world where men just weren't that important. And I think, and my wife was like, that's the point. It was a story where, and I think some of that was just a reflection of how prominent and men are so focal and so much that it was almost hard to even get my head around what was the role of Ken, what did he play, what did that represent? I couldn't, just my processing of that was an opportunity to reflect on oh my gosh. And I bet you if I looked around, we can find lots of movies that women are just not even an issue. And you wouldn't think, whereas the women, are they important? Yet when men were stripped of sort of the equation, it was difficult. So I think that was a neat reflection. I appreciated, so I've done a lot of work around masculinity, and it's tricky work. I really appreciated the lens they took. I think I read somewhere they used patriarchy like 90 times. Like, that's amazing that they pulled that off and had such a successful movie. I really appreciated how when Ken kind of got to the other world and like watching in a fun way, but I think those are sometimes the ways that things can get through. A man dealing with like, what? I have control and power. What can I do? And just kind of had fun with it, but showed kind of that immature masculinity and how it can play out and the silliness of it, yet also the allure and the temptation of it and power, you know, because they had this lens of like, that wasn't there. So that was a unique perspective. I also, two more quick ones. I just thought the success, look, I watched the movie and thought to myself, 5 years ago, it could have been a successful movie. The level of success is what blows me away and gives me hope. You know, in a world of red and blue. I mean, if you just take all the red states and all the red people said they'll never watch it, you wouldn't have had the success. So clearly this is cutting through, and that blows me away. And that really excites me that it's allowing this conversation to more worlds. And then finally, I just felt I think part of that second thing around where the men of the role of the men, I think there's a sadness of, what I want to see is the harmony between the two. I want to see a world where masculinity and femininity are both celebrated and together create this wholeness that's beautiful. And I don't want to take away and appreciate, because this film was deserved and needed to have that focus. At the same time, I wanted to see like a beautiful like coming together where it's like, oh, and now we found the balance. And maybe that's my man wanting to see that in there. But that was my final point that I made. So those are the ones that I came away with.
Oh, so good. Thank you, Craig. For those of you who haven't met Culture Craig, he basically helped start the Global Culture First Chapters community. So the reason that we have this container today is largely because of Craig Foreman. So thank you for being here.
Well, it was good to be here.
Support us. Yeah, some really good points. I didn't even think about some of the stuff you were talking about, like when a male character is like completely stripped, you're like, wait, what? And then you don't even really realize that when you're like, wait, there were like 0 women in this movie. Like, you know, you're just so accustomed to that. I didn't really think about that. So thank you. Okay, Snia, please.
Hello everyone. I'm relatively new to the Culture Amp community. So Jessie, thank you so much for being so responsive. I saw this event and was really excited. All right, so jumping into it, my Barbie story started about 25 years ago, I want to say, 22 years ago, when I walked into the store. All my friends had Barbies, and it seemed like the perfectly best next step is to go to a store and get one. And my mom was adamant on not getting me one. So I was like, okay, character development, fine, let's go with it. And I would make up for it by going to my friends' houses and playing with their Barbies, but there was always a limit, so I never had my own Barbie until I watched the Barbie movie. And I asked my mom, I was like, why did you get me one? So this was never a conversation that came up. I accepted it as my reality. And apparently in the 90s, and Chris, I'm so sorry, Craig, you mentioned that things have changed now in terms of Barbie knowing better and doing better. At the time, they had one Indian Barbie. So I'm originally from India, and that Barbie wore a sari, which is a traditional Indian costume or a dress. Now that Barbie did not have any accessories other than this very, like, her personality was being Indian. And to my mom, this felt a bit off, and she was like, I don't want you to constrict your fantasy land into making being Indian your entire personality. And this is how she perceived it. Obviously, it was more nuanced than that. And that really got me thinking, because that coupled, and then I rewatched the Barbie movie again, something I wouldn't have done, Jessie, if it wasn't for this event to watch that movie again. I did feel like the movie was a bit scattered in terms of wanting to tick all the boxes. I feel like they could have definitely gone a bit deeper into one or two sort of topics. What stood out to me were two things. One was giving yourself a voice and giving others a voice. how the importance of that and how that plays into everyday work situations. So even if it's a language bias, for instance, if we have a colleague on call who didn't speak perfect English, I noticed at some point we would supersede their views. We would have a conversation and carry on without actually giving that person space to talk. How can you do that better? How can you call yourself out better? How can you call your group out better? And that was one thing that stood out to me. And another thing that stood out to me was the standards that we set for ourselves, and all or nothing standards. So if I need to make it in a male dominated industry, then I need to tick all these boxes. And ticking those boxes, first of all, mentally is so exhausting because that may not be the person who you are. And there was that one line that stood out to me in this movie that appears at the beginning of the movie where someone mentions that I'm able to hold logic and emotion in the same space and I'm able to create impact. That stood out to me so much because we're dismissed for showing emotions and for being just passionate individuals, which is what we are typically, and not embracing our personality. So this is what stood out to me, and thank you everyone for listening. And so great to hear the insights so far.
Oh, thank you so much, Sneha. That was great. I thank you for sharing your experience too, of just like how you grew up with Barbies too. That's like very helpful perspective as I'm like thinking about all of this. All right, I want to just open it up to the rest of the group. If anyone else feels called to share, I know we intentionally had some voices of the community come and have like a few thought out things, but if anyone else would like to come off mute and share, would love to give you space to do that. Yeah, Fredo.
Sure, I can share. First of all, when I got this email, I was like, this is perfect timing. So I saw Barbie opening night, New York crowd, which is my favorite. So everyone was very, very engaged. I was actually ended up watching it. Turned out my cousin hadn't seen it, so I told him we have to make sure you see it. They were re-releasing it in IMAX last week. So we went to see it. And then I got this email. I'm like, this is perfect timing. So I could watch it twice. Also, it was fun. The IMAX version has a bunch of like deleted scenes and like outtakes at the end of the credits. So that was fun. I really enjoyed it. I get the balance point of like getting that balance of like men, women sort of thing. But I'm like, for me, I watch a lot of movies and I'm like, there's plenty of that in other movies that I watch where I'm kind of like, I just was kind of taking it as it was coming. And I really, really enjoyed the messaging. I know it wasn't fully even that speech from America for well, it's meant for women. I can also see it in HR how we kind of have to be like everything all at once, sort of. So it really felt, yeah, I loved it. I loved everything. I loved a lot about it. I agree it wasn't the perfect movie. I feel like it wasn't, but I mean, quite frankly, how many perfect movies are there? And I kind of watched it close to Oppenheimer, which is a similar, where it was like very male dominated, not like maybe two women, and it was a classic women tropes that that kind of fit. So I just thought it was really deep combo. I really appreciate being part of this combo. But for me, I just took it for what it is. I loved everything. I loved a lot about it. I love how it kind of didn't, diving into more about what the patriarchy really means and how it was kind of something we just made up, right? There's no real reason why men dominate the world. It was just kind of at some point decided. There's no biological or anything proof there that the reason why this was created. So kind of just seeing that, when kind of like, I'm gonna go take patriarchy to Barbie land and just seeing like to a new place to get to start fresh. I thought it was like, I appreciated the goofiness because it kind of was like a fun way. I know it didn't dive certainly too deep, but it just was a fun way for me to kind of hit these points. But also understanding, it's probably a kids movie, so you kind of got to keep it short. Is at least a lot of people told me like, hey, it's a kids movie. I'm taking my kids. I can't be here for 2.5 hours. It's not like a 3-hour Oppenheimer sort of situation. So kind of understanding the limitations, understanding that it's still kind of trying to sell toys in some capacity, understanding like I really appreciated what they did with it. Even when I first heard Barbie was coming out, I'm like, growing up for me, Barbie kind of was a derogatory term, being like, oh, like used like in sitcoms and stuff, like, oh, look at this Barbie, you know, kind of like that. My toys, I was never G.I. Joe either. I was Transformers, little Transformers. So it was just, I was really like what they did with it, because I wasn't excited about it until I saw that first trailer. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's what this is about. Okay. And then just one quick shout out to, I thought Ryan Gosling really, really committed to that, that role.
He was
But yeah.
hilarious.
Hold out. If we're gonna do shout outs, how about when is it Kate McKinnon?
Oh, Kate McKinnon.
When she showed up, and like, of course that Barbie needs to be there. It was so brilliant that they pulled in the messed up Barbie with all the stuff. And I just thought she also like talk about commitment to the role.
Oh, I'm gonna like follow on to a few things, which is like, one, I feel like for people who had Barbie's experience of like, I don't need Barbies anymore, I'm stronger than that. Like, we almost raged against the Barbie, which became the weird Barbie, because it was like, I don't need this thing. I like actively remember like tearing off my Barbie's head at one point, like in my childhood. Like, that's where I was. Like, I also had an older brother, so I grew up with this like, anything he can do, I can do it better kind of thing. And therefore, to be successful, I need to be more masculine. And like, I was really into sports and yeah. So, and then even growing up in my career, thinking that I needed to apply that same level of masculinity to the way that I show up at work. I'm going to tie this into a few other things, which is like led me to do my own personal journey. And Carmen, this is why I'm super passionate about the work you're doing about talking about the female body in the workplace. Cause for me, I don't feel like, I feel like I didn't grow up with a user manual of how this thing worked, you know? And it was like, oh, you actually like have a cycle, and like there are certain times when you're going to be tired. And then you realize like, oh, this whole idea of like, highs and lows every day is not designed for a female to be productive in terms of like how our bodies function. And so even just like the last few years of coming to terms with that and like understanding how I show up at work and like apply some of that, and not just the power of my like understanding my body, but also like I don't have to be super hyper masculine all the time like I thought I did to be successful. So a lot of that has been like I feel like unraveling for me. Fredo, I love what you shared about like how when you're in an HR role, you feel like you're everything to everyone all at once. And traditionally, it's because women work in HR, and like, yeah, you do everything. You're the office manager. And especially now with like having had to respond to COVID, it's like you're responsible for anything under the sun, like return to the office, COVID response, like mental health challenges and burnout, on top of like your normal day-to-day stuff, like social justice and civil unrest. It's like, you got that, you can do it all, right? So I think it's interesting that I'm glad you shared that, because yeah, traditionally that role is for women. And even just thinking about, we have this like notion that like men go out and kill things and then women stay in the house and like are, the nurturers. But I'm like, is that entirely true in our history? And that's something that I'm like been kind of curious about, that I'm like, I don't think that is entirely true. So just kind of like rethinking how we've applied that to the workplace. Like, women, you stay in, salespeople are going to go and, eat what we're going to eat what they kill kind of thing. And that's a male thing. And then you stay in and you handle all the admin and the benefits and the payroll and all that, and then all the people soft stuff. I just don't think that's realistic. Anyway, the last part I was going to say about watching these in comparison with Oppenheimer, which was like, of course, is a male dominated thing. And I think some people were upset that those came out at the same time, because it's like such a heavy topic around, like for Oppenheimer, you're like, wow, this is such a hard thing to like go in the same weekend as like Barbie. But it was a cool juxtaposition for you to see like the lack of diversity for the Oppenheimer team that's like making decisions, and like how that leads to men, not making the best decisions because of lack of diversity of thought from the group. And I just thought that was really cool, like to just see those in contrast with one another. All right, I'll stop talking. Want to hand it off to anyone else that feels called to share. I just rambled on there. So yeah, Hanno, hey, welcome back. Good to see you.
Hey, I think it's my first time here.
I feel like I've met you at another gathering before.
Probably maybe somewhere else, maybe before. I don't know. One, two. Anyway, um, I I haven't seen the film yet, and but I'd like to. So I kind of came to here, kind of thinking, okay, let's kind of watch the film after. Maybe I've seen a discussion about the film. How would this kind of be? And I'm even kind of more now intrigued to watch the film. But what I found more interesting was if actually Muslim women would be represented in the film. So I quickly googled this, and they were basically also wearing the hijab as well. And this is, of course, it's also like a hot topic here in France, for instance. In France, 300 girls were kind of expelled from school basically for wearing the full body kind of hijab. I don't not sure what it's called. And you know, our Western kind of perception and often kind of criticism of such way, and often kind of coming from a feminist point of view, of course, kind of heavily kind of critical of any kind of cultural stroke religious kind of way, stemming from a certain region, stemming from a certain religion as well. And I, as a gay man, I also, of course, basically had kind of certain kind of reservation towards the region and also towards the religion as well, given what basically how it has been portrayed in the Western media. And it didn't stop me moving to Dubai for a year. And I was openly living as a gay man in Dubai as well. And there I received a completely different kind of view of women in wearing the traditional outfit over there. There was such class, and also kind of seeing men wearing the same thing, just a different color. Because their dress is kind of more complicated and more kind of stricter than actually the women's dress. Because the women's dress, they're allowed to wear much kind of looser kind of clothing, much more kind of embroidery, much more kind of bling to this and all of this. And often you know, when there was a group of women wearing the traditional kind of Emirati outfit walking past, there was this air of elegance and style to this, basically, which I thought basically often kind of couldn't be kind of represented basically in the group of Western differently dressed women kind of portrayed. And this it was really quite surprised me in how kind of view of this topic changed a little bit whilst living in Dubai, which is also a society where people just can pretty much wear what they want, and even people can wear kind of you know, trans people. They also can kind of roam, you know, the you know, shopping centers now as well. And also their kind of support of women in the workspace as well, especially in the science-related field, is incredible over there. Going into kind of you know, the aero technologies, going into kind of IT over there. It's highly supported in the universities. It's all women over there, and also the safety of women is something completely different, which we don't experience in the Western world as well. I've got a friend. She's a professor for English literature, and she's very liberal, very kind of American, and she moved to Dubai as a single woman, and everyone was saying, "Why are you doing this? Aren't you afraid?" and all of this. And she wrote a book, and she said in this book she's never been more afraid. No, the opposite. No, more at ease, walking home at night through any kind of a state of war, especially going anywhere alone as a woman. She never basically felt more kind of supported being there and less afraid of anything happening to her. So just a kind of invitation is to see kind of this part of the world and this kind of maybe the supposed oppression, maybe with different eyes as well once when it's really lived in the country. Of course, things are very different in different parts of that Middle East as well. In Dubai, it's probably just quite forward, but you know, there just to have to see a willingness of these countries to move forward as well, especially in Saudi Arabia as well, and the speed at which this development is happening as well. This kind of fight for women's rights in Europe took 100 years probably. If you look back basically in the first kind of movement in Britain and Germany and all of this, where they are doing this within kind of 10 years. The whole kind of gay liberation, the whole basically kind of enablement and empowerment of women over there is happening at really kind of fast time. So also maybe not to judge these countries of not being quite there where we are there in the West, but they're doing a lot of efforts in a kind of relatively kind of short time frame as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here too. I even just what you were sharing reminded me of what Carmen
Hannah, come back so we can say welcome back.
What's that?
I said, Hannah, come back so we can say welcome back.
Yeah, exactly. It reminded me of what Carmen was sharing too about different workplaces of the world and feeling safe as a woman, and like how that can dictate your experience and how you show up even. I love that. Okay, I wanted to also intentionally create space for those that shared that they were disturbed or disappointed. So I know Edward and B, you both shared that as your check-in. If you feel comfortable, I would love to like amplify your voice during this discussion too, if you are available.
Sure.
Love it.
Hi, I'm Edouard, and I'm from Switzerland. I shared that I was disturbed, but it's mostly a positive feeling that I got from watching the movie. I'd say it was really smart and witty and comedic. I think I was mainly disturbed by the ending and how it felt a bit like, yeah, women taking back the power and in a sense, leaving men in a powerlessness of some sort. And I think it was a bit difficult to, I felt a bit of frustration from that. And I was wondering if that was actually on purpose from the director to make it feel like women can feel today. But yeah, that's why it disturbed me a bit. And I was so disturbed by the fact that it was actually really good. I didn't expect it to be so good.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I think that it's like almost like when people watch the Game of Thrones ending, they're like, oh, it was like they either loved it or they were like they hated it. And I feel like that's kind of like the ending for the Barbie movie. It's like some people were like super disturbed and they were like, there was like a clear imbalance of power that they wanted more from that. And then other folks were like, it was fine. I don't like what Fredo was saying. There's plenty of other movies that like leave with people feeling balanced, you know? So
You know,
thank you.
Edward, and I'd love to hear the perspective from others on the call, but you know, I remember when you said what you said, I was watching and I always thought it was cheeky and I was like, oh, they're flipping it. This is probably what women feel like oftentimes, and they're using this opportunity to flip it. So I wonder if what you were experiencing was the same thing I was experiencing, and I thought it was contrived in a way to almost be really like, what would it look like? You just flip it over and like, how's that feel? And just present it in that way without giving it a lot of context. I assumed that was the point. I didn't know for sure. And then you said what you said, and I wondered if that was part of the same thing. But I wonder if others felt
Yeah,
the same way.
I actually didn't get the idea myself. It's my wife who told it to me. By the end of the movie, I was like, yeah, but I'm frustrated that the men didn't get any power. And she was like, she probably did it on purpose. And if you're reacting, it's the right way that she did it well, because she's kind of targeting men in that sense.
And is that thing that you felt something that women have internalized and just walk with all the time?
Yeah.
Thank you, Craig. I was just about to say that. Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to tag on. I do think it was intentional. And I think that if we look at it differently, and if we think, okay, if she had ended it in a way that it was equal, it was what we all really want it to be, it would have felt resolved. And I think that people wouldn't have walked away continuing to think about it as much. They would have felt like, oh, it's resolved. It's like any chick flick that doesn't end the way we want it to, we keep thinking about it, right? We just keep obsessing, like, why didn't they ever get together? And so we keep thinking about it. And if it just been resolved, we'd be like, okay, good, world's good. Next movie, where's dinner, you know? And so I think it was really intentional, and I am glad that it ended that way. But I do hate that that maybe some people left feeling that way and didn't have someone to say, hey, I think that's the point, you know, so that we think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I completely agree. I think it's very smart what you said. I was just wondering how that, if I'm a man that's a little bit towards feminism, I wonder how that resonated with men who are way further anti-feminist, and maybe that kind of created some strong feelings that I don't know. yeah, I'm wondering about that.
Even women that aren't really pro woman, let's say. Like I went to I was like I went to the dentist and I was like talking to the dental tech and I was like, "Oh, did you go see the Barbie movie?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, interesting. Like what did you think, you know?" And her reaction was basically just like, "I mean, I know I'm a woman and like, but I'm not really like pro woman." And I was like, okay, interesting. Like it was just like a fascinating, like even women cannot be feminists. And so being able to like, she left being like, ugh, I didn't like it, like to be like pro woman, basically. And so it's like that perspective, to your point, it was just like even women, not just men who aren't even like classifying themselves as feminists can feel disappointed or disgusted or whatever the word is.
I could be wrong when you say that, Jesse. It makes me sad because my first hit is like they've even politicized females empowering themselves and somehow flipped the story in women's mind. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of women in this country like, oh, that's just another left thing, my empowerment. Like, how do we morph and bastardize such these pure core things and turn them so political? Like, it's just weird to me, a world where unless there's some like real core like, no, I'm into women, I just don't like that movie because X. But I don't think that's what you hear. I think it just gets lumped into this political, it's just another lib thing that's going on. And it's just so sad that like you can undermine people's own empowerment and while they believe they're marching down the path of empowerment. It's strange to me.
I feel like there are a lot of people who thought this movie was incredibly political. And I'll also say that like I think it's something like 40% of women in America vote Republican. Like so it is an interesting kind of what you're saying. Like it is a politicized thing in many ways, you know.
Yes, I'll jump in here since
please.
since
Yeah.
you called me out, Jesse.
It was an invitation.
Okay. No, I know. Okay, so I think two things. So I think it was disappointing because it felt like, okay, that's it. It just felt like a lot of different things were crammed or packed into this movie. And I actually would have liked to see it as like an extended series, maybe like take us on a journey. I think the movie was like a good start, but I would have liked to see like the mom and daughter relationship, like unpacked more deeply, the marriage relationship, the dynamics within Barbie Land. I think it's just, there was so much there. Ken's own story and like why they were all Ken and the different Kens and like the competition between the Kens. I mean, like, come on, there's so much material there. So I think, yeah, I walked out of it going, oh, well, okay, cool. I guess if that's it, all right. And then I guess in general, I think similar to what everybody's shared is, I guess my first instinct was like, oh, this is like how our society is male dominated right now, but this is just female dominated, which is why I think like we can all talk and think about the movie for weeks and months after the fact. But I think for me, it's about like, what is the feeling that you're creating? Like we know that like American men feel very much threatened by feminism, and like a lot of men's like worst nightmare is that we do want to erase them, and like we don't see a meaningful role for them to like participate in our society and our economy. So like for a small group of people, like Barbie was a nightmare, like their worst nightmare. And if that is the feeling that we want to invoke, like that's totally fine, but like we just have to be okay with that. And I think we have to be, I just try to take like a broad view of like everybody's feelings. Also, I didn't grow up with Barbie, so I think like I didn't get it as well. Like I went to a fantastic cinema and there was a lot of like previews and a lot of like Barbie core shit that I just like did not understand. So maybe that's a little bit, that maybe has a little bit to play. I just like, I don't get the cult, but loved it, super creative. I also loved like the brand extension work that happened with all the marketing campaigns. I think that was all just brilliantly executed. So thank you for letting me share.
For sharing, B. I appreciate it. I
Hey,
think
Jess, let me jump. This is a perfect pause. I do have another meeting I need to go to, but I wanted to thank everybody for coming together. I know personally it filled me more than I knew I would. And Jesse, beautiful intuition on this conversation, and thanks for having it, because it's been so great to hear these different reflections. And I realized more than I realized when I walked out of the theater. I've been craving to hear what did other people make of this. There's clearly a lot here. So thank you, everybody, for the different perspectives. I know you've enriched me and given me more to think about. So awesome. I have to say goodbye now, but it's good to see everybody.
bye. And I'm gonna throw it back to Natalia to say thank you to Natalia for like helping bring this together. But okay, I want to kind of tie us back to like the future of work theme a little bit. So I know Fredo was talking about like how when you work in HR, especially, it can feel like you're doing everything, and we started to talk about this a little bit in the chat. But just like wanting to open that discussion up about like, how does this apply, or how can we like take some of these things and apply it to the way that we work, or the way that we show up at work, to create a better world of work, I guess. Really broad question, but I want to just like hear your thoughts.
I would say even just a general idea of like what's a masculine trait, what's a feminine trait to show at work. Like, it doesn't, I don't even view it like it's something I don't view it as, but a lot of people do. Like, what is being too aggressive? What is you have to be caring? Like that type of balance where you have to kind of be both, and is something that I feel like my company's lucky because we do kind of understand that, but just seeing it outside of like I'm kind of running out of gas here. Sorry. Just being yourself, whatever it calls to you. Like a really small example is I considered possibly painting my nails. Like, does that mean I'm not less masculine? Is that a feminine? Something like that is like, okay, I just don't view it that way. So just hope that people can also just not view, like, be what you want to be at work.
Love that. And it's not like you need to be one or the other to be quote unquote successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Snia also had her hand up before, and then we'll give it back to Carmen.
Yeah, and to add to what Fredo had just mentioned, something that I see is not being afraid to have hard conversations and not letting things slide. I sometimes think that's a starting point for so many of these incidents to occur in the workplace, where we're like, okay, I'm going to pick my battles, so I'm not going to address 1, 2, 3 things, but really asking yourself, okay, like, did that bother me? How am I going to address it? How am I going to put that point across, so that I'm not waiting for the person to do the same thing to hurt me again, but I'm addressing it and saying, hey, this is what I think. Whether they accept it or not accept it is in their hands, but you've put your point across. You know your boundaries. So I think really drawing boundaries step by step and in a very simple way might be helpful.
Love that. Thank you, Snia. Carmen?
Yes, I found the button. Yeah, what I would invite to use, because great movies like this, and when I mean great movie, is a movie that moves, a movie that is moving something. It's triggering, is making us talk about it, is making people love it and making people hate it. This means a movie that moves. So let's use it. And the first thing that I would invite to is to use the flipping, because the whole movie is a flipping. It's a flipping of perspective. there is one thing which, if we want to recognize it or not, it doesn't matter. We live in a patriarchy, period. It's like this. Some of us recognize it, some of us don't, but it's a reality. This is a reality. And the movie shows the extreme of the other side of patriarchy. And it helps, the flipping helps, the flipping is not to make women or men that are used to live in a patriarchy. We're all used to it. And for all of us, it's triggering. For me, it's also triggering. And I'm a feminist, and I coach female leaders, and I want more female with power and owning money and owning more of this world, owning it. Yeah, very big written. But still, it was triggering for me because it was different to that I'm used to. So it even was ridiculous. So I can use this flip to bring it to the work culture, to the organization. And when I feel triggered by something, what about using Barbie to flip it? To flip the perspective, to try to empathize, to use empathy, changing the perspective. Because every reaction and every behavior is based on a background. Everyone has his or her own background, which is sustaining this reaction. So yeah, that would be for me the most direct consequence of this movie, or the first that I can think now of. I had a list like this, but it would be too long. But just using the flipping, flipping my thoughts. Oh, I think he's stupid. Okay, he might think I'm stupid. Or, well, just flip it for the joy of playing with a flipped thought, with a flipped reality.
I love that, Carmen. I appreciate that. I was even thinking about like when the pendulum is swung so far in the other direction that sometimes we need to have that. So it's like the on-off switch, right? It's like maybe we do need the on-off switch, but like in reality is we live with a dimmer, you know? So, but like it is helpful to do the full like flip and switch to see things from a different perspective. Like I know Ruth Bader Ginsburg talks about like, what if all of the Supreme Court justices were women, you know? And it's like, okay, like that is the complete opposites of the spectrum, you know, of the opposite of quote patriarchy. But it's like, okay, what if that were reality? Then what, you know? And then let's come back somewhere and find the balance in the middle. I think that's really cool. Yes, exactly.
Our society has been working like this all the time. Like this, only to one side. Yeah. This cannot work. It's just, it cannot work. So that it can work, to reach balance, we need to come from here to there. And then, for a while, it will go from here to there. Now we need more weight here. And now it's hard because we need to exaggerate on the other side. We need it. Why do we need it? Because we don't know it. We're not used to it. We haven't experienced enough. We haven't played enough on this side. And then when we have enough weight on both sides, then the balance will come always a bit nearer to the center. And it will be difficult, not only for men, for all of us it's difficult because we all are used to be in this uncomfortable thing, unbalanced thing. We're all used to it.
I love that. Thank you, Carmen. Such a great visual. The other thing that was coming up for me, it was like exactly what Craig did. I had like a full moment of like, yes, which is like, when we're acknowledging that many people felt frustrated, that there was no balance at the end of the movie, and then acknowledging like, okay, maybe that is your experience as a man. And also, what if that was like how women felt most of the time? But the fact that Craig, as a cisgender white male, is acknowledging that, and a woman is not having to acknowledge that, is really powerful. And so for me, I think like I would love to see more of that. I would love to see more men acknowledging a woman's experience and being like, this is what, have we thought about it from this point of view? And being able to at least help us continue to have this conversation, because yeah, it can be really challenging for us to, even tying it all the way back to what Natalia was saying at the very beginning, even if you're like, I want to be more strong and empowering and have a voice, but then also like, sometimes then you're just like, I'm shut down. Like I don't have the power to actually say this aloud, but being able to have someone be an advocate to help amplify you and your voice can be super powerful. Yeah, oh my gosh, holding cognitive dissonance, super difficult. The messy middle, as I like to call it. Okay, I want to just like take a moment. This has been such a rich conversation. I kind of wanted to just like take a moment. I'm feeling called to like lead us in a bit of a grounding and then have us come and check out of just like, and concluding this a little bit. So I'm actually going to invite everyone to turn off their camera for a moment. And we're literally just going to take a brief moment to just like kind of pause here. And then we'll come back and do a formal checkout. But whatever you feel comfortable with, you're welcome to shut down your eyes. You're welcome to have a soft gaze. You're welcome to journal, whatever you need to do to kind of help process a little bit. And at least this is the start of the integration process. So I'm just going to ask us to go through a couple rounds of breath. We'll have a moment of reflection, and then we'll come back and do a checkout. So go ahead and get comfortable in whether you're seated or you're standing. And I'm going to ask you all to just take 3 rounds of breath, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. We've consumed so much information. We've been so in the head. Let's just like take a moment to get in our bodies and see how we're doing here. And when you're ready, go ahead and begin that 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, 3 times, and start. And then just kind of checking in. How's your energy level? Not needing to judge anything. Maybe you're feeling energized. Maybe you're feeling tired. Whatever it is, just acknowledge that. How's your body doing? A little scan through. Maybe you can release your jaw or your shoulders just a little bit. Roll your ankles or wiggle your toes. Just kind of just getting in your body a minute. And just like summing up all of this information we just had, just thinking about like, we're all here because we believe a better world of work is possible. We want to do something about it. Like, what did you learn here today that you're like, yes, I want to like go and I feel inspired to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's like a simple conversation. Maybe it's a habit you want to implement. Maybe it's a policy you want to put in place. Whatever it is, just kind of take a moment and how can you put all of this like learning into action to create a better world of work? What does that look like? Or what does it even sound like? What are people saying? What are the kinds of conversations that are being had? What does that feel like? And then I want you to just like boil down this experience into one word. So we checked in with like, what's your one word to describe how you felt leaving the Barbie movie? Just like one word to describe how you're checking out today. So find your one word. And when you're ready, I want you to take one more breath. And an exhale. And when you're ready, come on back. All right. Woo. Would anyone be willing to share their like one thing that they want to put into action with the group? Either aloud or in the chat, whatever you feel is comfortable for you.
Yeah, I'll start. And it's Carmen, what you said, the whole just idea of flipping it just in any situation is a good practice thought. Even if you think you're right, just say, what if I'm wrong? And think about the other side and see if that gives you more insight. So I really do. That's my biggest takeaway today.
Love that. Curiosity flip, so good. Anyone else be willing to share the thing that they're wanting to put into action? Not hesitating to have conversations. Yes. So good. Motivated to help employees find their own voice. Ooh, love that. Thanks, Alexis. I also feel I'm feeling inspired around the like, just show up, just like be yourself. Doesn't need to be like masculine or feminine or like, just like that has been an empowering theme for me throughout the day. Just like, wow, how cool is that? Just, and this idea of like this principle that we even have here today about like foster belonging and acceptance. Just let people show up however masculine or however feminine they are. And I love that. Looking at research on feminism and Islam. Yeah, love that, Hannah. Good takeaway. Anyone else feel called to share? What's one thing you can do to create a better world of work based on this conversation? Reaching out to more communities on my personal journey to well-being in work. Ooh, would you be willing to share more about that?
Yeah, sure. I didn't realize that such a place like you guys have created could exist. So I'm kind of happy to see a reflection on my own personal journey in a community. Yeah.
Love
So
that.
I'm inspired.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I think one of my other personal takeaways has been like, I think we especially as women can feel like we need to be everything and do everything. And I'm also like a personal practice of mine is just working on like, no, that's not possible for me to get done. I can't do everything. And being not just honest with myself, but telling other people no and communicating what's reasonable, what's a reasonable expectation and possibility. But be more open in sharing myself, not limiting my own person. Yeah, thanks, Shruti. All right, let's do one last checkout. Type your word to describe how you're feeling leaving today. Don't press enter. We want to have it all at one time. So when you're ready and you have your one word in the chat, give me a thumbs up. All right, ready? On 3, we're going to press enter. 1, 2, 3, enter. Informed, thoughtful, reflective, inspired, hopeful. Oh, balanced. Ooh. Love that. So good. All right. Well, thank you all. This has been a treat. I want to do this again with more movies. What a rich conversation. We are going to do this with a Culture First podcast episode on November 15th, in case anyone wants to join us for that. When you register for that event, you can vote for which episode you want to talk about. So putting that in the chat in case anyone wants to join us. Natalia, anything else from you? Want to just give you a moment to thank you for bringing this idea to the community and like bringing this, we brought your cool idea to reality. This is what a treat.
Yeah, and it went beyond all of my immodest, most immodest expectations. I was like taking notes of all the things, you know, it's just amazing. So many perspectives, like in any conversation, real conversation like that, where people feel safe to share. Thank you.
Yeah. Yay. Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, thank you to all the Barbies and the Kens. Remember your Ken-uff. Thank you all for being here. And cheers to co-creating a better world of work. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Everyone.